Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have hit the home of a doctor from the Nasser hospital in Khan Younis in southern Gaza, killing 9 of her 10 children. The doctor's husband is also critically wounded. The Nasser medical complex in Khan Younis says its paediatric doctor, Alaa al-Najjar, was on duty when the bodies of her own children were brought in. Her colleagues posted this video on Instagram late last night.
The last patient on my list today was an 11-year-old boy who seemed much younger as we lifted him onto the operating table. His injuries were bad enough, but the background, I think, was worse. In an attack that may have or not have been aimed at his father was very badly injured, but 9 of his brothers and sisters were killed.
And his mum is a paediatrician at the hospital, and I was sent a video of them going to the house. They lived opposite a petrol station, so I don't know whether the bomb set off some massive fire, but the video shows all of the children being pulled out of the fire, and they're absolutely charcoal to a crisp. It's horrific.
I think it is unimaginable that for that poor woman, both of them are doctors here. The father was a physician here at the Nasser hospital. We've asked about him. He had no political and no military connections. He doesn't seem to be prominent on social media. And yet his poor wife is the only uninjured one who has the prospect of losing her husband, has already lost
8 of their children.
9, yes. I think a particularly sad day, but that is life in Gaza.
The way it goes in Gaza, isn't it? That's the way it goes in Gaza.
But it is. We do say thank you for those of us, for those who allow us to be here, and we're very grateful because it's important in this darkest of dark eras to stand with the oppressed. Thank you.
Those were the colleagues of Dr. Alaa there. Well, let's bring in our correspondent, Wira Davies, who's in Jerusalem. And Wira, you've been following this story for us. What more do you know about this strike on Dr. Alaa's home?
Well, look, this is one of the most egregious, horrific incidents of the war since Israel escalated its war in Gaza. We've asked the Israeli military, the IDF, confirmation of reports that this was as a result of an airstrike on the family's home, but they've not got back to us yet to either confirm or deny them. But this is a terrible thing. It has shocked everybody. Many people have said it's the kind of incident that ordinarily might bring about calls for fighting to stop, for people to come to their senses. But there's no sign of that happening. Israel, of course, has said that the war in Gaza will continue until Hamas is completely defeated. It comes against the backdrop, of course, of an increased Israeli military operation called Gideon's Chariots, in which Israel is promising to control much of Gaza. Residents in the town of Khan Younis, where this happened, have been told on many occasions to leave their home and go to so-called safe areas, but there are no real safe areas in southern Gaza at the minute. And I think, sadly, as somebody else said, this is now, despite the horrific nature of what has happened, it is something that has been seen in Gaza before and may be seen in Gaza again.
And what do you think the likely fallout will be from this attack? Because you're saying it's an attack that's shocked everyone there.
Yeah, well, look, as I said, the Israelis haven't confirmed or denied what has happened yet. They haven't said what their target is. They always say that when they do have an airstrike or an attack from the ground, they're attacking Hamas targets. We'll see what they have to say about this one. But again, according to reports from people who knew this couple, they were both doctors. They were not politically affiliated. It is not known if their house was the intended target of a strike, but those details will hopefully come out as the day progresses.
Wira, thank you. That's our correspondent, Wira Davies, there live in Jerusalem. Now let's speak to Ahmed Bayram, Media and Communications Advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council Middle East. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. We continue to monitor the situation there in Gaza, of course, Israel's renewed offensive there. But crucially, those efforts to get aid in after Israel partially lifted its 11-week blockade of the territory. What can you tell us in terms of aid that's perhaps getting to Gazans at the moment?
A lot of this aid is of course, being looted on the way. I should start with that because last night my colleague was telling me that yet more trucks were taken away. Of course, that's a direct result of the breakdown of law and order. The other risk, of course, is that if Israel continues with this drip kind of strategy, allowing aid in very small numbers, it only means that it will add to the anxiety, the desperation of people. Some aid is getting to some areas, mainly central and southern Gaza, while the north is completely blocked and completely deprived of anything. I mean, today, again, she was telling me about how 1 kilogram of onions is now costing her $55. Of course, that's $55 that so many people don't have or can't afford. The numbers don't make sense anymore because the markets are empty and people can't live, on more than, one meal a day. So what we need to see is gushing of aid, not just a few trucks here and there that will get looted or, face so many difficulties reaching people. And even the aid that gets to people is nowhere near enough. You have seen pictures of people cramming around one bakery trying to get hold of a bag of bread. Israel should not keep that loaf of bread from people any longer.
And in terms of your organisation's experience, where are the specific blocks in terms of getting the aid into Gaza?
The approvals from the Israeli side, the murky nature of Israel's plans, is it going to allow us to, there was promise to bring in more aid, which we haven't seen yet, approvals to bring aid, tons of aid that is waiting in Egypt or in Jordan, everywhere else. At the same time, the long delays that we face whenever a truck crosses into Gaza, it will have to go through another layer of security approvals on top of the inspections that take place. Securing the routes is another big issue. And again, back to the looting incidents that we see and the criminal elements that are thriving on the way. So it's a whole series, a whole chain of blocks, and the blockade has been lifted in name only, I have to say. So far, only just over 100 trucks have made it into Gaza. We're talking about probably 500, 600, 700, 1,000 trucks that we need to stave off the starvation that is rampaging all over Gaza, particularly amongst children and babies.
Ahmed Bayram from the Norwegian Refugee Council Middle East, thank you for joining us on BBC News.
Thank you.